We're now on chapter, let's try it again. We're now on chapter 10. And we need to open the workbook Green Valley Data, which I have already opened. And save it using the file name Green Valley Membership. And again, we're going to tack our name on the end. Okay. That way we know that's a file that we have modified and not one of the ones that came with the book. And if necessary, click the Add Member Datasheet tab. Bring up this worksheet, and if it's not maximized, maximized it. Okay, we're good. And now we're on page 633. Click on the Convert Member Datasheet tab to make it the active sheet. Click Review on the ribbon to display the Review tab. So let's go up here and click on Review. Click the Unprotect Sheet button. And this sheet has been password protected. And if we didn't know the password, we wouldn't be able to get in here and modify anything. So type in awareness in lowercase letters as the password. And you might want to read the information about passwords on the bottom of page 633. We're now on page 634. And we have unprotected it. And now what we're going to do is we are going to start working on macros. A macro is basically a collection of commands. They can be keystrokes, it can be typing, it can be mouse clicks, it can be selections from the ribbon up here. Pretty much anything that you do in Excel can be recorded and then played back later. And in order to do that, you need the Developer tab up here on the top. Now I've already got that because I've done macros here before, but we're going to show you how to get that on there. Go to your File tab and go to Options down here, and we want to customize the ribbon. And right now your checkbox for Developer is probably turned off. If it is, turn it on, and click on OK down here at the bottom, and when you come back you should have the Developer tab up here just like I do on this spreadsheet. And click on the Developer tab to make it active. I'm on the bottom of page 636 now. And click the Macro Security button here, and it will bring up the security settings. By default it's one of these first two. It's not the last one, but we need to turn this on. Even though it says it's potentially dangerous, we're only going to be executing macros that we write ourselves, so that's not going to be a problem. So I want to enable them all, and then we want to click on OK down here at the bottom, and we want to go to the File tab, and we want to do a Save As. And the other thing we have to do is we can't, if a spreadsheet has macros in it, we cannot save it as an ordinary workbook. We have to save it as a macro enabled workbook, and it'll have the letter M on the end instead of the letter X. So we're going to choose that, and we're going to call that Green Valley Membership with our name on the end. Click on Save, and now we've got ourselves a macro enabled spreadsheet, which means we can add our own macros to it. Okay, I'm on the bottom of page 637. We want to insert a blank column to the left of column A. So let's right click here and do Insert, and it'll push everything over one to the right. And we want to set the width of this to 20, so I'm going to right click and go to Column Width and type in the number 20. So we got a bigger column now. And we want to go to A1, and what we're going to do is we're going to make some changes to the names that are in column B. If you notice, some of them have a last name, comma, first name, and some of them have first name and a blank in the last name. Okay, at the bottom of page 637 we need to type in function. It's a function you probably haven't seen before. what it does is it will take the argument and change the case so that it's capitalized like proper names are, with the first letter capitalized and all the other letters in lowercase. And so we're going to put A1 here and close it. And I put in the wrong formula. I was supposed to put A2 there. Let's put A2 instead and hit the enter key. And let's try that again. B1, right. Okay. And now we're going to copy that all the way down to row 25. And now we've got everybody's name in proper case. Then we want 4 blank columns to the right of column B. So let's select 4 of them here and then right click and do an insert. And now we've got 4 blank columns there. And that takes us to the middle of page 638. And now we're going to start recording a macro on page 639. Okay, now we're recording the macro on page 639. We're on the Developer tab. We want to use relative references as opposed to absolute references. And we want to go to cell A1 and then click the Record Macro button. Now you got to be careful because everything that you do from here on is going to be recorded for playing back later. And we need to make up a macro name. We're going to call it first name. You are not allowed to put spaces in a macro name. If you stick with letters and digits, you'll be fine. And we're going to put the letter F in here so that we can invoke this macro by typing Control F on the keyboard. And we want to store it in this workbook. And then we put a little comment down here. So it will split up the name. This is just a comment so that when you go back to this later on and you read about it, you know what it does. And then we click on OK. And everything we do now is going to be recorded. So the first thing we do is, I'm on page 640 now. We click on the Home tab and the right arrow key twice to go to C1 and type equals len. This is the length function that tells us how long some text is. And click cell A1, so we've got length of A1, and close the parentheses and hit enter. And we want to go over to D1 and equals search, and this will look for text within another within a given text string. And what we're looking for is quotation marks, space, quotation marks, comma, and it says click on A1, so we'll click on A1 over here. And so what we're saying is search for a blank in A1 and click the enter box. I don't normally do that. Normally I just finish it by typing the right parenthesis. Then it says hit the right arrow once to go to column E, and what we're going to put in here is equals right A1 comma C1 minus D1 parenthesis. And what that does is it takes, if we go here and get our little helper box, what it does is it says I want the rightmost characters of A1. And how many do I want? Well, I want the number, it's in C. That's supposed to be C1 minus D1. Let me change that here. C1 minus D1, and click on OK. And so what I did here was I figured out how long it was, and I searched for a space in it, and if the space is in the 7th position, then that means there are let me see, 15 minus 7 is 8, characters at the end, M-A-R-C-H-A-N-T, and so it'll give me the last name in this column. And then we go to column, let me see, A1, C1 minus D1. Okay, now I'm at the top of page 642, and I want to copy this, do a Control C as I just typed on the keyboard, and then what we're going to do is we're going to paste the value in as opposed to the formula. So now the formula is gone and we just have the name there. And we want to hit the right arrow key, and I'm going to hit escape here to get rid of that dancing line. And now in column F, I want equals left, and if the right function takes the rightmost characters, the left function takes the leftmost characters. A1, comma, D1 minus 1, and right parenthesis, and that gives me the first name. And I'm going to do a Control C on that, and I'm going to, that copies it to the clipboard, and I'm going to do a paste value again, and now I've got the first name there. There's no formula anymore, just like there's no formula over here. I'm going to hit escape, get rid of the dancing line, and now I want to go back home, hit the home key, and click the developer ribbon and stop recording. So I'll go to developer ribbon and tell it to stop recording. And now everything that I have just done has been recorded. And because I used relative cell references and I started in A1, all of the stuff was relative to cell A1. So if I were to go down here and invoke the same macro, everything would be on row 2. Okay. And now we're at the top of page 644. And we created a macro for the cases where the first name is first. Now we're going to create a macro for the cases where the last name is first and there's a comma in the middle. And so we're going to go to A2 here, which is an example of that. And we're going to start the macro recorder again. So click on Record Macro, and this one's going to be called Last Name. Remember, no spaces. And our shortcut key is going to be Control L. It's going to go in this workbook. Whoops. Make sure you keep that selected. And then macro names for entries with last name first. Okay, click on OK. And now we're going to go to C2, and we want to get the length of what's in A2. And then we want in cell D2, we want equals search, quotation marks, space, quotation marks, comma, A2. And then we want left, A2, comma, D2 minus 2. And that gives us the last name. And then the last one is going to be equals right, which will give us the first name. And I want to go to A2, comma, and the number of characters I want is C2 minus D2. And that should give me the first name. And I skipped over something here. Let's go back and let's copy this to the clipboard and go to home and paste in the values. And let's go over here, hit escape, get rid of the dancing line, and let's I'm going to type a Control C to copy that to the clipboard, and right on top of it I want to paste the value, and hit escape, and I want to go back to A2 where I started, and then I want to go to the developer tab and I want to stop recording. So now I've got two macros, one called Control F and one called Control L. F is for the first name, L is for the last name. And now we're going to password protect the sheet and save the workbook. So we're going to go to our review tab and protect sheet. And the password is going to be awareness again, all lowercase letters. And click on OK, and then we have to type it again just like any other time you do password stuff. Make sure you know what you're typing, and then we're going to save the workbook, and they tell us to close it. What we're going to do is we're going to continue to page 646, and it says click the developer tab on the ribbon, click the macro security button right here, and we're going to disable all macros with notification, the second option here, and then we're going to click on OK. And now we're going to go to top of page 647, number 1. We want the Green Valley membership workbook, which we still have open. And actually let's close this like they did and then reopen it again. Go File, and we want to reopen it. And we'll get this warning here, and we'll tell it, well, yeah, it's okay to enable that content because we created the macros and we know they don't do anything malicious. And go to the Review tab, and we're going to unprotect the sheet, and we're going to type in the password. If we didn't know the password, we wouldn't be able to do this. And in the Convert Member Data worksheet, click cell A4 and do Control L. This is the one that has the last name first. Do Control L and check it out. And what we want to do is we want to find all the ones that have the last name first and do a Control L. So look for commas. Control L, Control L, Control L, Control L. And the last one I think is row 25. Okay, so now we've got all of those done. And now we're on the top of page 648. And it says if necessary, click on the Developer tab and click the Macros button to display the macro dialog box, and it shows us the macros we've got here, and we want first name selected, which we have, and we're going to click on Edit over here, and we're going to maximize this window here, and it shows you the code that was generated as our macro was being recorded. The stuff in here is green, which is that's green is comments. They don't mean anything. That's just documentation. This is a macro or a subroutine called first name. That's what sub stands for, and it ends down here. And all of the black stuff here is the commands. So every time I did something, there was a command that corresponded to it. And this said go to A1 and go 2 columns to the right of A1. That's what this does. So I'm going an offset from there, and then this is the formula I typed in, and then go here and type this formula in, go here and type this formula in, go here and type this formula in, copy, paste in the values, and then do the next one with left, copy it, paste in the values, and go back to the first line or first cell at the beginning of the line, and that's the end of the macro. So you can kind of figure this out if you know, especially if you know what you did, you can figure out what these commands are by just looking at them. They all make sense. And so when we're finished, click File in the menu, and they want us to choose Print. I'm not going to print that. And click the Visual Basic Editor Close button on the right side of the title bar. That would be right over here. And whoops, right up here is the one that I want. And now it takes me back into my spreadsheet. And we've been going for a while. It's probably a good place to stop.